Hello, everyone. This is Yahweh. I speak to you now from Welvis Bay, which is city of beauty along ocean side from Namibia. It is 2 or 3 the first day of January. This is New Year of 2018. It very very long, difficult journey for me through this beautiful but barren, very, very difficult to survive in this country, in the countryside, without proper provision or assistance from local. This is land of great beauty. Of I would only assume some natural resource for the mountain, the rock, the formation, the bending of the different layers of the rock as you see as you travel. It must be from millions and millions of years before, to come up now to the surface. What knows what it would yield if it was mined? I do not. Uh, there are in northern area you have to go along a long desert, which is you do not want to go into, but because there is nothing there to survive upon. But along the northern part, as you travel throughout, there are plots of land which look perhaps like a farm. Is this the word? I believe, where you have a large land to build fence around to keep in livestock. This is very much the Himba are very much rich in cattle. Cattle is very. It is very difficult for me to not wish to eat flesh of animal, to have things such as blood brought to me for nourishment. It is not pleasant. In each of village, there is holy fire, and you know which holy fire is the holy fire because around which are 4 stone place. This fire is tended all of time, for it must never die. This fire is used for the peoples in this village to go to and speak to ancestor, forefather. This is very beautiful tradition. In each village, they do perhaps a slight difference of this, but overall, it is very common custom. I found the people to be hospitable, to travel, to willing to share. However, tragedy befell us because the man Ralph, who is being guided, who's had vehicles and transport for us, he dies. He dies in sleep while we are travel in, we would say, in middle of nowhere, right? This is some place where we don't know which way to turn. Do we keep going same direction? When do we turn? Knowing that going in wrong direction, we will run out of petrol and have no way to return. This is a very trouble for us. There was 3 others, myself and 2 others, I should say, traveling with Ralph. And of course, we have to honor Ralph's custom. You get to know a person a bit traveling so far in desert road with him, to make better place for him. We cannot transport the body, but we must make better place for him and read last rites for this man who was good man, who passes in his sleep. It is difficult. The other 2 are locating family. I do not have anything to do with that, but very difficult journey. However, very interesting as well because you see the Jacu who live among very simple means out in bush country. You've become to realization that the human race is not dependent upon technology. They are not dependent upon others such as this. The human race is very resilient to survive, and I believe this very firmly. This this area where I am now, for instance, it is very, I don't know how to say this. It has many different aspects of its nature. You have areas of this town which seem quite modern and areas which seem quite in the past, and everything in between. And it is very interesting to see this combined together. It is not segregated. It is just very, very eclectic. Maybe perhaps the word. I think I use this right. English here is official language, which is always convenience. But most place you go in the world, there are of course some, but most place you go, English is good to get by. Uh, I am waiting now for boat, and this boat is not the issue of Syria. These types of things, if I do not believe they are of importance. I when I come here yesterday, when I arrive in this city town, what you would say, uh, the news media of Project, the newspaper, say of United States, was it CIA or FBI or one of the letters saying to release information on program to investigate UFO alien. This is quite silly to me. Uh, this, my friends, is very great news. This just means that disclosure is coming upon us now. They can't know. It would be very difficult to come to peoples of world and say, this is all we know, and spill out on carpet right away. However, to bring about a change in mind of public is planned, I believe. So they do this in step. This is a big first step. I'm very pleased. However, the if you do not mind me say so, the account I read in this newspaper was of United States military aircraft pilot who say he sees something which he could not explain, something not of this earth. He uses a word similar to this. If I misquote, I apologize, not intentional. But he say something he has never seen before, and I just wondered, could not they have? Is this all he said about this encounter? Did he not say other things? Why do they choose these words of his to put in newspaper? Why not talk about? I do not know. Just I cannot believe something of this nature. Some pilot agrees to speak to newspapers, and what he say is, I had never seen something like this before. It was not of this world, and this is it. This is what we are told. I want to hear what he thinks it was, where it came from, what his real thought is on this. I do not care if it is accurate or no. That is not for me to judge here. It is because I wish to hear what this person has to say. It is still being very much too far controlled by those of power, is the point I belabor to make here. The point is, this information would benefit all of the Jaku, all of mankind, and it should not be held back in any way. But it is still, I believe, firm in my soul, it is still very dangerous in many ways to become. It is one thing to go around and give speeches for money and show the same picture on the screen, which every other person who goes to this lecture circuit to put picture on screen and talk about government conspiracy and cover up in Area 51 and all of this nonsense, which all it does is confuse issue, which is those from other planet who may have contact with the peoples of Earth, or after you get back a few difference that are physical of appearance in nature, you realize how very much the same. Just as those who travel around this planet come back to their place of home and say, everywhere I go, I find good people. People are the same wherever I go. They want this and this and this, and they name the similar things. But this is true for others. You can imagine you live on other planet. It does not mean you do not love your children or try to engage in activity which brings meaning to your life. And most to do this to benefit some part of the collective. It is nature law. It is. The other thing I wish to say uh, is to one friend of this is a had Charlie asked about Arcturian Kalan. I do not know much about Kalan other than I know he was good friend with Namo and Sunsi. Namo was here part of my group to Timbuktu with Dogon tribe. The most harmonious, balanced individual perhaps you could ever ask to meet. Very introspective. A cultural anthropologist would be equivalent of this earth occupation of what Nama would do. And Sunzi, of course, in China, he's often be confused when you say the name of the man who wrote this book, but I do not think it has anything to do with this. I may not even have be pronounced name correct. Sunzi just was he Arcturian who was very, very skilled for military service, military strategy, honor, to be strong in army make no fight to come to you means no fight you must give, because if you are so strong no other forces will choose to fight with you is what he would say often. Arcturian have been to this planet for a very, very long time. These I hear one time several years ago of a craft Nikola Tesla found above Earth in orbit around northern pole. This type of technology to perhaps equivalent would be a base camp or someplace to establish a operation of observance is what it was. It was very similar to many other. I do not want to say devices, or I do not want to say craft. I do not know what to call outposts, perhaps that have been part of this planet for thousands of years. Now, when I went to the city of once in Nibiru, and I went to library, there were many stories of what has happened to this planet. The 5 ages of man, the destructions of man, in all which was accumulated during those times of great success for mankind. All but very small amount become lost through time to the element of being corrosed by rain, by wind, by overgrown jungle. The list could be endless of these reasons. But I believe in very many people, human, which I run into, I think these human very much, for most part, have some kind of recollection of these previous times. I find very many Jaku who believe some way of reincarnated. They have belief in, perhaps not to use a word which is becoming antiquated, I believe, which is the word of God. To say these are people who believe in a God is most likely not accurate. However, to say there is a belief in some spirit, I do not know, something above or tandem to, is very prevalent in very many Jaku. It speaks to me to a deeper wisdom within the species and possibility for much growth and potential of many opportunities. So it bothers me immensely when this process of the United States, who very much still controls much of the world, to decide to bring this out in such a small portion. They should give it to the human now more than ever. They talk of war in North Korea. They talk of war in Iran. They talk of war in Israel. They talk of war in Syria. You go down the list. The human race could use good distraction now, a good reason to get together, to just set aside the silly argument which nation states have with each other, to give respite, to give time to approach with fresh eyes. This is my belief. Perhaps I shall get a chance to voice this to those who perhaps may have some influence. Most likely no. I believe I have to go when the boat come, if the boat come, to St. Helena. Is this the island of where they placed Napoleon? Yeah. But I do not know. My Nodokskoi is not working. I cannot say it does not work. I feel sometimes as if I am detached now from my home, from that which I learned from so long ago, as a small child. I feel as if it is become too far buried within me to be of any use. It is disquieting feeling, my friends, for many time in years past, my identity, my love of Ivania is it's very difficult to consider to never see your home world again, to see home planet again. And I believe I have got to place in my heart where this is okay, see? But sometimes some things happen where I have it is just a unquenchable feeling, unquenchable to feel homesick, to feel heartache for this. So this is why I appreciate so much, my dear friends. I cannot stay anywhere long enough to make friends. You are the only ones I have in very many ways. It's difficult sometimes to have the knowledge, the experience of life which I have and share with no one. However, the older I get, which is substantial of years, as we know, the older I get, my friends, I begin to realize if someone would have told me even part of what I have experienced, I may have known what it is they describe, but I would never know anything about the experience. I would never have the true emotion attached to the memories of those events. So you become to realize, this is my, I think, of the matter, you come to realize listen is more important most times than speaking. Because I think the more I commit myself to being patient of when to bring myself into conversation with other travelers, with others who are sitting for tea, with others who are perhaps travel companion. It is so much more interesting to hear of their lives than it is to speak of my own. But this is not certainly this is not always been the case. I have in very many times been told I speak too much, that I do not listen. I just speak very much. It is difficult always to have someone to say something about you which you know is true. You do not wish it to be true, you wish it to be false, but you know in your heart it is true. It is difficult sometimes to hear this, but it is what makes life change. I apologize. I must drink some of this tea. It has become not hot. The water here is not good. Not good. I went to market. I have no money to spend, but to ask for enough for packet of Kool-Aid and sugars. But the water is distasteful. It is distasteful. It has a taste of old material, is what it reminds me of. I wonder if these other this what do you say it is called, asteroid, meteor? I do not know. The object come fly through your solar system. This was discussed with me. Well, it was being discussed as I was listening to conversation. I wonder what this was. It definitely, to me, sound very much as if something was on a reconnaissance mission, perhaps you would say. Yes, the time has come. It has come. The beginning of disclosure now begins, and for you, my friends, who have seen the writing, the symbols, who have seen the technology, perhaps only in dream time, this knowledge will serve you very well. It will serve you very well. I'm going to try to make other tapes soon. It took quite much longer than I originally planned to make this tape, because I am very, very many, how many do we I do? Try to count the day. Several days delay for Ralph's passing. Bless his soul, may he rest in peace. Amen. He he was not just driving the vehicle. He knew so much about the mountainside, the history of the country. To have someone who has these stories of things which have transpired in these different places, it was truly honor to meet this man. I feel terrible. I feel terrible for his family. He was their, as I understood, source of income. I did not do anything of this, but the other two travelers said they would very much make arrangements to return a vehicle to family. I do not know how they plan to do this. It is very, very long distance away, and nobody is heading back the direction that I know of. The desert here in Namibia, my friends, is punishing. It is very rock, very wind, very much wind, and very difficult to find solace, to find place to relax, to rest, because of this wind, constant blow. But I made to ocean. I smelled the sea yesterday. I smelled the sea, and it filled my heart with joy, for I knew I was close. The ocean has been no friend to me, but I miss it every time I am away. I love this planet so, and I love you, my friends. If possible, I shall make new tape before I leave for Ireland. If any have available to send PayPal, you know I always shall ask with humility. The over and out, I say. Farewell.